Greetings and welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. Today is January 21st, 2026, and this is episode 3 of Conversation with Tony Mobley. This conversation uses the TV broadcast software Mimo Live and Zoom. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Clark Lopez Waterman. Our current team includes Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, Mickey McAture. Thank you, sir. Thank you, team. We also have additional support from JJ McKenna and Tamara Pika. ConversationWithTonyMobley.com is our website. And we have, courtesy of Alex Lindsay in 090, an interactive chat where you can ask questions. And not only can you ask questions, those questions can be voted up or down. That's right. If you choose not to use Mukana, well, you can ask your questions in the YouTube chat and we'll bring your questions over. We started this year with theater professional and college professor Jessica Lopez Barkle. Last week, we had Ken Jordan and the importance of quality when using AI. On today's Conversation with Tony Mobley today, we have Ms. Roz McNulty, digital musician, magician, and fashion meets the future. Roz's website is www.fashionic.ca and backslash. And so apologies for messing up that website name. Roz, you're going to be able to straighten it out for me. And welcome, Roz, to Conversations with Tony Mobley.
Thank you so much, Tony. It's a pleasure to meet you virtually. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. And we're going to get started. We're going to get right into the questions. So the very first question is, who is Roz McNulty?
Well, firstly, a fashion futurist. I have always seen the mix of computers and clothing. Clothing is math, as in pattern drafting and measurements, and computers are math. So I have been part of this for far too many years. It was always my ambition to go out and make a clothing computer that could teach me everything I needed to know about pattern drafting. And what I did do is go out and find out they already existed. But that was a long time ago. And my first experience was actually doing illustration on a color graphics computer in the 80s. And again, you could imagine that was one of the first color graphics. And it sort of was Etch-a-Sketch or whatever. But anyways, it was certainly inspiring, but it took quite a few years for the world to catch up to a reasonable price on that equipment. But yeah, so I was always chasing that dream. And another dream I've always chased was documenting historical clothing, because it's one thing to do pictures and photographs, but what's really important again is that whole 3D data of how it comes together, where the placement of darts and pleats are, and material disintegrates. And so one of my biggest goals is eventually getting a 3D fashion museum together. And a lot of this is all based on the software Clo3D, which is the pattern drafting software, that a subscription where you can actually draft patterns in 2D, simulate in 3D, animate within the software. There's a whole bunch of AI coming within now. It's an excellent software, and I've actually taught 3 courses on it. But yes, it's also been a base for a lot of the work we're doing now. And as I say, the Fashion Innovation Center, we have actually, again, started working with Vision Pro. So we're we are creating virtual showrooms for the Vision Pro. And the idea being that you can, again, navigate around the garment. We've done some 3D scanning, so we've actually got original garments within. And we even have an exploding Lululemon leggings, so you can really see how things come together. But yes, lots of fashion future.
Tell us about your instruction. Was that in person or was it virtual?
Oh, it was virtual. I still have one of my courses up. It's at www.rosfic.com. I've had students from all over the world. Initially, I was with another company during COVID, and then did my own course within the last year or so. But I've had students from all over the world. I've got quite a few of them as good friends. I even had someone that worked for NASA doing astronaut clothing, 14 to 17 layers, including water. Anyway, she was curious what could be done within Clothes 3D for astronaut uniforms, and she went through the whole course and put her avatar into that the uniform, I mean, the astronaut suit that she made. But again, it was an experiment. And I can also say that she made it into a real astronaut suit, at least for a try on. But yeah, some
Oh,
really
wow.
special people from around the world. And again, a friend of mine, or ex-student, is actually in a school in Armenia. Sky is in Armenia, and he's been taking some of the projects I've done, such as the virtual museum for the Oculus Quest, and showing it to his fellow students. So yeah, it's been great to be
That's
part of.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're going to
definitely.
talk more about the museum. We have to talk more
Yeah.
about the museum. Um, the next question is, how has your family supported you on your journey?
Oh, I think they see a lot of it as mom's special hobby. I would say my granddaughters absolutely adore the dresses I make them because I actually sew them up. Um, and again, I think there's a great level of respect for what I'm doing. So again, lots of special family support.
Well, thank you. Thank them for sharing you with us this evening. I really appreciate it, and
Thank you.
I want to take this time to speak to our audience. This is an unusual, special occasion to have Roz on Conversation with Tony Mobley, and I'm going to ask you at this time if you're on YouTube or you're using Makana, please go ahead and put those questions in right now. And while we're waiting for some additional questions, I am going to shift to Roz's website. And maybe you could tell us about um, that first
What's
dress
happening
that
here?
appeared. Well, you talk about what's
Yeah.
actually showing right now, those shoes. Is that
Well,
purple?
actually, yeah. So actually what that is we have created a whole virtual showroom in the Oculus Quest, and you can navigate to each room and actually pick that up with the Oculus cursor, and you can take a look at these different clothings. That's the exploding Lululemon. So again, you can go into the room and you touch the base and it comes apart. This is an animation of an actual dress from a designer. And this here is the app that we prototype for the Vision Pro, where again, you can see a garment in 3D. This is a scan of Ian Lockheed's wife's dress. We've used it a lot. But
Okay.
anyways, yeah, so we've done some 3D scanning and some clo visualizations and interactivity. And again, we've now started taking all these same things to the Vision Pro.
And
So
we're going to
changing
shift
colors,
to
styles.
The VR Fashion Museum. So I shifted there, and so tell us now what we're looking at.
Well, that one there is a comparison between a real dress and a scan dress, and the idea is which one is real. Again, Ian
Oh
Lockhead
wow.
Lockhead built all of this museum, and in fact, it's my second one. The first museum was built by some students at Vancouver Film School. Alia Yosef did just an amazing job. I mean, he had amazing architectural CAD skills, and it was all marble and stuff, but it didn't quite have the same interactivity or refined models that this one has. But yeah, so we've done a lot of 3D scanning, and then this whole room here, you can go in, you can look at the dress, and video pops up and starts telling you that bit more, and then you can revolve the dress and see it from all sides. And that's actually, as I say, something that's really important to me is you want to be able to see a garment totally, not just from one side. So yes, you can go up and see Wallace Simpson's wedding dress and the other one. I'm forgetting all of them. But yes, so I even had my students helping with the first museum and showrooms. I've been, again, attempting to do a lot of this type of fashion innovation for quite a few years.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share that. Our next question is please talk about your use of technology in fashion. You just started to talk about it, but go ahead and tell us more about your use of technology.
Well, again, I've really been the idea of a lot of the work I've done, as I say, is to document historical clothing. But at the same time, in order to do that, I had to learn how to document clothing myself in Clo 3D. So I started off in recreating historical and then putting it up on Instagram saying which one is real. That worked quite well because people had to think about it, people had to make decisions, and meanwhile, I really learned how to do it. So much so that I actually got the opportunity to do a small course with Clo 3D in New York. And I was off to a convention there, my first with PI Apparel. This was back in 2018, where 3D apparel was in the industry, in the larger companies, but it was starting to come to the medium-sized companies. And what was brilliant about this conference is, with all conferences, sometimes everybody in the same room is interested in the same things. But this was also at a point where the people that were in the room were those that were doing all the different things, such as fabric scanning, avatars, softwares, and it gave one a wonderful base to that community. So I know a lot of really interesting and special people in the industry. It's sort of like a reunion sometimes and going to the conferences. And of course, a great learning experience to the point I've used other people's softwares such as Alvanon and Browseware. And then because of that, kept meeting people in the industry that, again, was interested in the whole 3D apparel as myself. I just finished
I'm
actually. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I just finished doing a PI apparel in Hong Kong, where we're doing design, make, and sell, and talking all about what can happen in terms of the AI positives and negatives. And again, great to see everyone. Great to go to Hong Kong. I got to meet up with some of my old virtual office or remote office. So I got to see a couple of people in person that I had only met online in COVID. But anyway.
That's fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit more about
Mm.
technology, but before we do that, I want to go back a little bit to your conversation about math, and I'm just curious: was it math first or art first?
Oh, I'll have to say art, but the thing is that pattern drafting is a lot like architectural drafting, except you're dealing with a different body. So again, in some respects, math might come first there because you start thinking about at what point is your neck and your shoulders and what this width is and how people are different math. And again, I would say, yes, I love apparel design and that I wanted to be able to do it well. And therefore, I wanted a computer to figure it all out for me. That's how that started.
I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a sort of probably might come across as a religious question, but does does math help you with the creative side of your brain?
I would say so, yes. Because again, as I just said, you may be putting together a garment, but you do have to think of what the math is of how it fits. One shoulder will be, let's say, three, again, I'm pretty good at metric, but yeah, 3.5 inches. But if you want that extra bit of style, it might be 4 inches. And again, that whole way that everybody changes in heights and where their body parts are. So I would say again, math is pretty important to me, and representing math in apparel is very important to me.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for sharing that. How are you a magician?
Again, I would say that came from going to NAB, National Association of Broadcast. I did start off in the film industry. And somebody had some really wonderful phrase on their business card. And I thought, well, that, I'm going to be a digital magician. And I started putting it on the business card since then. And it was enough that when you say, what type of magician or special person you are, that people will talk to you that little bit more, remember you that little bit more. It becomes a conversation. CEO just says that you might be the end result person that's most responsible, but digital magician says you make things happen magically, which I believe I do.
Fantastic. Did you struggle moving from film to digital?
Ah, sort of. It was still computers, so I was enjoying that, and web. Um, and again, I was never interested. It was more documenting film. So I was actually doing EPK, and really for pretty small productions and a little bit of extra work to start with. But it was documentation in photography, and it became sort of a choice. Did I want to be in computers or did I want to be in film? And of course, I chose computers.
And what is EPK?
Electronic press kit. So it means you would be on set and you would be taking pictures of everything in the background and the foreground. I did have a small company called Pitch Page, and what the idea is we were getting everybody's always pitching their film product and are we pitching their demo reels. So back in 2006, we had this idea that we were going to put demo reels online. And so build it and they will come, and nobody came. So then what happened is we started doing editorials. So we started interviewing people behind the scenes. And I had a brilliant young editor, and we were doing quite well in the video, the good newsletter. And again, fun concept, but nobody would put anything online because they said, oh, people will steal it. The film companies didn't want to have anything to do with publicizing what they were doing because it was 6 months, a year in the can before it was released. The internet was not doing sponsorship or advertising way back then, and even video had just started streaming. So it was a little ahead of its time. And it didn't continue. But again, a wonderful experiment, and some great shooting and editing of very small videos. Um, Again, it was a great experiment, but little ahead of its time in terms of where the industry was. And of course, I'm back there again, a little bit ahead of time with the Vision Pro. So,
That
but
that's going to
it'll
be
get
our
here.
yeah, that's going to be our next question. But before we go to that, what was your first digital camera that you purchased?
Oh, I don't know. I think it was a Sony, but I know it was one of the few. And I was just pulling it out and showing it to cab drivers and anybody else that would look. And nobody, they go, oh, wow, what's that? It was probably one of the first. But was it a Sony? Again, I just remember always trying to tell people what the future was. And again, it took them a while. It took a while. Again, since we've met on office hours, we know what the gang's like. If you say who had a 3D camera back in for one of the first ones, everybody, there's too many of us that do enjoy our pre-tech toys or our Technovation, something like that. But yeah, so you sound like you had your first digital camera at some point. Which one was that?
I actually have my. I can't reach it now, but it's above my head. It's a Sony MV something. I can't
Excellent.
think of what, but it there was no film, of course. with it
No.
being a digital camera, I put in
Oh,
floppy disks.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Flop.
yeah, I can remember that.
I would slide the floppy disk, and I would. It didn't matter about you just had so much size. So the interesting thing for me was to just pick out the colors. What colors did I want to use in the floppy disk? And so I I used to do photography for a time and in the
Mhm.
very early days, and I was actually using that digital camera as a
Wonderful.
support camera for my film
Yeah.
camera. I had Nikons that I used for weddings and special occasions, and whatever job I got, I would use primarily the film camera, but then I would create conversations by using that floppy disk
Digital.
digital
The
camera.
floppy disk one. Yeah, no kidding. Well,
Yeah.
I have found that the one thing about a real camera is people will pose for you. Where if you take out a
Hmm.
digital camera or a phone, they treat it casually. Where if you, and they say, oh, smile, and they go, oh my, okay, take my picture. And you take a real camera, and people really respond. So, but
Uh, uh,
again, yes.
unless you're like our friend Alex Lindsay, who's going to put all kinds of gear on top of the phone, so
Oh,
that
yes. It looks serious.
and then people will actually pose for him. I'm sure. Um, so we're down to the Vision Pro now. So let's talk about your use of Apple's Vision Pro.
Well, uh, I've been pretty excited about that for a long, long time. And I just, when I had the first, it came out in, again, about 2 years ago in January in the States, and a friend of mine went down and got one and brought it back. And I just remember that first experience. And again, I don't where the butterfly lands on your finger and the immersive movies. It was so magical. I just had to sit in the dark for the rest of the night after he left and think about all the wonderful things. And then I reached out to all what I call my super geek friends and tried to explain that how wonderful it was, how amazing it was. And then I actually um, managed to get I think I got the Vision Pro first, but managed to get a grant to develop for the Vision Pro. And the idea was that I put up the money, I got the student and the Vision Pro, or I put up half the money. And so the student wasn't very efficient, but luckily I'd been working with Ian Lochhead on the VR fashion museums for the Quest. And Ian was able to take his Quest virtual showroom where you could actually go in and change colors and styles and put it into the Vision Pro. So again, that was sort of the beginning of it all, but it was also a little bit ahead of the industry. I mean, apparel hasn't quite realized what it's going to be yet. Immersive sales are supposed to be 40% of online sales in the future sometime. I can't remember the exact stat. Again, spatial photography is amazing. I know the rest of the world will catch up to it because there is nothing more wonderful than pictures of your family in spatial or spatial video, and it feels like they're there again. It is just so amazing that it's still probably the greatest pleasure is taking photographs in spatial with my phone and then re-experiencing being there. Seeing again my granddaughter playing with Play-Doh in a picture is that. Seeing her immersed in front of me playing with Play-Doh is heartbreaking when she's not at hand. But yeah,
Wow.
so spatial photography is amazing. And then, of course, what it can actually do, we've done a lot of 3D scannings and being able to bring them into environments. We've done personas meetings where we can actually, again, go grab something from the web and put that whole three-dimensional piece in front of us, walk through it in the room. Again, early days, as I keep trying to tell people in the industry, the 3600 US is cheaper than a plane flight, and a personas meeting is wonderful. And then I would also say the Vision Pro community is absolutely totally wonderful. Everybody really wants to make this happen. And then I can also talk about my other project, which took quite a, as I always tell people, a good campaign of a year. But we took an international ballet company, and with four dancers and the choreographer's piece, we did a whole immersive filming with the Black Magic Ursa. This was a couple months ago, and it turned out brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. And I can say that I sent it to our mutual friend, Alex Lindsay, and he was saying it was amazing, just amazing. So it's under NDA. We haven't actually got it to a point of showing the world yet, but those that have seen it have been awestruck. Amazing. It's to experience again front row seats with the dancers in spatial dimension. Sometimes you just can't go backwards. It's no good when you're sitting in the audience anymore. But yeah, so spatial is going to be a very important thing for family photographs and immersive experiences and being there in a totally different way. And again, I will also say personas meetings, again, feel like the person's in the same room as you. And again, very special, very special. What else can I tell you?
It really sounds extremely exciting, and I'm awestruck in just your description of what it is. It's not in my budget to get a Apple Vision Pro at this time, but I'm just wondering, do you think that there will be a time when the cost will lower so that more people can have access to it?
I think yes. I keep saying it's going to be 5 years to a domestic market. A friend of mine says three. So one of us owes the other person a coffee. But anyways, the price will go down. But again, think people lose perspective on what it is. If you start looking at some of the original Apple computers, even like we were talking about digital cameras, you did have to invest. And
Hmm.
I don't know if the rumors are true, but in theory, they're not making a lot of profit on the Apple Vision Pro. What they're really trying to do is get a lot of developers inspired to use it. So the idea is that you might be more close to the actual cost price of pulling it together than not. People will disagree, but again, I still think you have to start thinking of the perspective of what those first computers were, those first inventions. They're not going to be cheap. And then, as I say, you got to start thinking about where you're going to use it. And again, I have one potential client who is talking about doing immersive showings and experiences with his clients that are all over the world. And again, 3,600 does not get you to Hong Kong and back, or at least not easily. So
Right.
again, I think you have to really think about what that cost involves and then start once you do start having it, I can say it's actually another screen. So every morning, I do actually get up and usually have put my headset on, have office hours playing, and then start doing my diary. Maybe put something on my list of things to do. And what's happening is the Vision Pro is a screen for me to look at, and it's excellent for my back. There's no more hunching over a laptop or looking down. I mean, it's just basically just sit back and enjoy your video casts and being able to write with again the screen in front of you. So there's that experience. And then of course, again, you're talking to an Apple Vision Pro evangelist, but as they say, the airplane experience, that is a form of heaven. The
That was
rest
going
of
to
the
be my
world
next question.
disappears.
That was going to be my next
Oh,
question.
it
How is it using it, outside of the home or workplace?
again, I'm always amazed more people don't question me. Not that I'm out there that much, but at the same time, I have yet to be asked about it on the plane, even though I've done quite a few flights. What I love about it is because it's so immersive in terms of sound and blacking out, a long flight just disappears. You grab a couple of your favorite shows that you want to watch or review your photographs or anything, and all of a sudden you're landing. Again, it's just a very restful experience because you're choosing what you want to watch and you're immersed in your environment with the sound in your ears. It's lovely because I mean, we all know how claustrophobic airline flights can be, and we also know how long they can seem even if they're short. So it's truly a pleasure. So I mean, it's very enjoyable to work in. Although, and again, I can do quite a few hours before I'd even bother to think to take it off. But and I know that there's some people that are editing in it and they really enjoy that as well. So it does actually become another screen in your computer life. It does actually reflect whatever your laptop is as another screen, as well as being an independent computer as well. So, and then of course you have the pleasure, again, as I always say, family photographs. That is just brilliant. And even spatial photographs that you take everywhere. I've been going to the local charity shop and they've been doing some amazing curation of fairly bright and interesting pieces of clothing. So I go in there about every week and I take a bunch of spatial photographs because one day I'm going to take them and put them into a gallery in the Vision Pro. But again, you see things differently. I'll take a photograph and it will just be a picture of a shirt and a blouse and when I look at it spatially, all of a sudden I'm seeing the detail of that necklace that's there and going, oh, I didn't realize that was a knit trim. And you experience everything in a way that you're just not seeing that flat picture. You're seeing the elements within the picture. So, as I say, when you start seeing video and your family and your experiences in spatial, you're back there. And of course, Apple's doing some amazing things. Now I'm forgetting exactly the spatial gallery where they have video coming in from all over the world, which includes experiences. I'm trying to think of them barrel making in Italy for wines, and then wild animal reserves in Africa. And then my favorite at the moment is the Red Bull powder skiing in northern BC. So you get to really be, again, immersed in these experiences and see things that you wouldn't see without spending a lot of money to travel to and, again, having that amazing opportunity of being 5 feet away. So, but yes,
Do you,
I
do,
can always go on.
do you think that that this can be a vehicle for, 2 weeks ago we had professor, theater professor. Do you think that there is this possibility of live theater being broadcasted to the Vision Pro?
Yes, as I say, they're now doing basketball games. So they've now, I think, got the whole series and they're shooting the basketball games and broadcasting them live. They're doing, I believe, 5 cameras, two side and two behind the baskets, and then another camera as well. So you've got 5, I'm guessing, live cameras, a live basketball game. So you're watching it in real time in your Vision Pro. And now they've got the whole series. Apparently, it's wonderful. I wish I could have seen it, but they haven't released it in Canada yet. But again, everyone's saying it is just brilliant. So my argument to that is right. We've got basketball for the boys. We want fashion for the girls or for the rest of us. So that again is another goal. I really would like to see a whole show, fashion show, filmed in immersive. The Chanel show in the abandoned New York subway this year, it should be shot in immersive. I mean, again, you want to be able to see that depth to the fabric, that movement to the fabric, that color, those accessories. And if sports brings a certain audience to the Vision Pro because it's live and immersive, apparel, again, will be the next sort of frontier as far as I'm concerned, is that, as I say, family photos and experiencing everything like you're there, that extra dimension. So, yes, my goal is fashion in the future, in the Vision Pro and online retail, because I think it's going to make a big difference.
I apologize for asking this question in this way. I really don't know fashion in terms of, the different locations throughout the world where is high. I'm sure that New York and Paris are a couple of places, but what are some of the other places that would probably benefit from a fashion show being seen through the Apple Vision Pro?
Um, Again, I would like to see that New York subway show, like I was front row there. But at the same time, my main goal has been uh, commercial apparel. So the reason that we built that first apparel review studio was because so much time and money is wasted on making final decisions of sleeve length and elbow length and arm hem length and fabrics. And the idea was that rather than making samples or looking at drawings, you'd actually have the ability with the team to take a look at those designs and start making decisions so that there wouldn't be that extra bit of time or waste. So again, 3D garments that you could see in 3D and actually make those small changes. It's about sustainability, speed to market. So my bigger concentration has always been apparel industry. We're talking people that make hundreds of thousands, millions of one piece. And if you can make a decision that makes that all more economical, faster to market, less waste, that's my biggest goal.
I'm laughing because what you did was you just cut through my question from you. You went to not about the fashion show, but what's happening in the back end, and
Yeah,
and you made it a process that is not last minute and cut through the models being able to actually get out there. Because if you're eliminating and making the adjustments in the virtual space, then when they're actually going out, that cuts that time down a whole lot.
definitely, definitely. And
Yeah.
that's
So
part of it as well. One of the apps that we've made with the Lululemon leggings allows you to go in and start changing the waistband color, changing the stitching color, and then even exploding it so you can see all the pattern pieces. But that's actually something that they would make millions of, a legging, and that they do have colors that they choose for the season and combination. So that has been my goal. Again, the 3D apparel industry is realigning itself. A lot of people haven't adapted the 3D pattern making completely. They use it for parts of the business. And then, of course, with AI coming into apparel, everybody's a bit confused about what AI can do, what it can't do. And again, the one thing AI cannot do is replace a person that knows what they're doing. So, I mean, in terms of design, we're not talking the actual design, but design for the market and research. And then at the same time, mood boards and product development. That's not the right word. But either way, researching what that idea, that fabric, that style, that color, and then being able to take AI to actually put it out to the market and get research and feedback. And then starting to use AI for supply chains. And it, again, is very good for sustainability, but it still needs people that do comprehend 3D. It cannot, at this point, guess how a real body works. It really still takes someone who also knows what a real body is, how a real body is fitted, and how the real math of clothing works. So again, AI and fashion and 3D, they're all sort of realigning, and the same with the apparel industry. Again, I don't want to get into the stats, but I mean, it does have to be refocused in terms of how much waste and how much people demand that it gets to market so fast. There's ways of doing that better.
just looking back, do you think IKEA gets any credit for this move forward?
Oh, definitely. And especially for me at a PI Apparel, I guess 2018, 2020, they had the man who brought 3D to IKEA, and he gave the most amazing lecture. And he just basically pointed out how they took every asset with IKEA, even plants, and created them 3D and kept it as a database so that design could use it, so the marketing could use it. He said that you couldn't actually build a couch in 3D. You had to scan a couch in 3D because it just didn't work many years ago in terms of scanning. But yes, the amazing thing there is all your assets existed in a way that the design, the kitchen design part of the business could use it, marketing could use it. You're all using the asset that is real, that represents the real. So, I mean, that was the most inspiring thing I saw for the that would relate to apparel. And that was again quite a few years ago. That you have a database that can be reused, that everybody can see, and that is consistent in terms of the design. And again, like you said, they would shoot it all in green screen, and the only thing that would be real would be the people. You can't scan those too well either.
Right. Wow.
So yes,
Wow.
and then
Mm.
they were first to use again XR, anyways AR, so you can place it in the room. We've done a lot of that too with the 3D scans and placing it in virtual environments. But yeah, IKEA to me, I guess, is one of my bigger inspirations. To the point I reached out, and I'm not going to know his name, to the guy that gave the talk and complimented him years later, saying how it really made a difference to me.
That's fantastic. We're down to our last few questions. What's next for Roz McNulty?
Well, again, one thing that's really important to me is AI used in fashion properly. So we've actually started putting a course together to actually run live here locally in Vancouver, where again, the new tools for the apparel industry are going to be taught and reviewed, and those softwares. And a lot of that is again being based on what I actually know with Clo 3D at this time, what I can teach in Clo 3D, and then of course the immersive projects that I've been doing, such as the 3D scanning and the virtual showrooms and the Apple Vision Pro. So I want to, although education is not my focus, as I say, Vision Pro and online retail probably there is my focus. I still want to educate people to know how apparel really works, really happens, and is really done, and the tools, the modern tools to make it happen.
If someone has a budget that they were able to purchase the Apple Vision Pro, what would you say would be the reason that they should go ahead and spend that money?
It's the future. I spend a lot of time trying to, I've got one friend that is in the film industry, and that industry is changing dramatically. And I know that she would be able to create immersive films and projects that could really be part of influencing people in a positive way and entertainment and such. So again, there's a push for that. Another thing too is I always say family photos. Once you experience spatial photography, it's hard to go back. And the fact that one of the most important things I think in people's life is the people, your friends and family and experiences around you. So I would I would get into a Vision Pro just for that reason, so you can start experiencing everything and converting all your old ones. Another thing too is I also feel it's important to invest. Like I said, it's comparative to new computers that are coming into the world ages ago. If you start comparing what the dollar's worth then and now, that it is a learning experience. Don't pretend you're going to put it on and be doing everything immediately. It takes a while to sort of get better and better at using it and start to know how to find things that you really enjoy. So um, think of it as a tool, as a computer, as something that you're going to want to learn to use, that it's going to be part of the future in terms of immersive experiences, family videos, having on an airplane. We're talking live sports now that you can watch. You want to be part of the future. The best thing to do is begin now and start thinking about the plane flight you didn't take to New York City for the weekend and buy a Vision Pro, right?
Okay. And we're down to our last question. You're speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
Um, an interesting thing, I guess. I'd have to reflect on one of my first passions, which is historical fashion, because clothing always tells a story. And documenting that history of apparel is really, really important for future generations because material disintegrates. And at the same time, you can only see so much from a photo. So again, if you think of the fact that we all wear clothing every day and we all say something when we're wearing our clothing, and all the clothing in the past says something, I think apparel and visualizing it in 3D and 3D scans is a really important part of the future.
I think that's absolutely amazing, and I want to thank you again for sharing your knowledge and your experience with the Apple Vision Pro. I'm excited about. Just don't have it in my budget to get one right now, but I think I'll be working toward that goal. Um, I want you to share your website again before we transition, and
Okay,
I'm
my
gonna.
website is www.fashionic.ca. So, Fashion Innovation Center. Um, yes. Again, it's not the best name, but we don't all pick the best names when we first go to web. And of course, Roz McNulty on LinkedIn. If you want to reach out to me and ask any questions or want to know more about the ballet project, or again, it's a great community of Vision Pro people and a great thing to be part of in this at this time. And another thing is, even if you can't afford a Vision Pro, go to your local Apple store, do the 25-minute tour, and enjoy yourself.
I will take you up on that. Thank you so
Yes,
much again,
definitely.
Roz, for being here. You can
Yeah,
watch
thank you, Tony,
Conversation
for
with.
having me.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you. I'm so glad we were able to make it work. Uh,
Mhm.
you can watch Conversation with Tony Mobley on YouTube or my website, conversationwithtonymobley.com. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Clarlock Lopez Waterman. Our current team is Laura Thompson, Zachary Sorensen, Mickey Macature, and we want to thank you, sir, and thank you, team. Thank you, Mimo Live. Thank you, Zoom, for making this broadcast possible. We have conversations with real people. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations on Conversations with Tony Mobley. We have over 4 years of content regarding Conversations with Tony Mobley. And Roz, I'm going to ask you to go back and look at the Conversation with Tony Mobley episode where Ken Jordan came on and he was using his Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, neat.
Uh, when you have time, again, we want you to go back and look at those past episodes.
Oh,
We like to
definitely.
we'd like to think that you will find something that you like and hopefully is helpful. Roz, we want to thank you for being part of our conversation today, for doing the work you do, and for being the person who you are. We are going to have the free show evangelist, Gary B. Jr., on Conversation with Tony Mobley next week. And what is free show? Tune in next week and find out. Take care. God bless you. See you soon. Bye bye.